Pues, hola a todos y gracias por regresar para más español. Hey everyone, thank you for coming back for some more Spanish. Today is one of my favorite lessons that I teach. It is one of the lessons that gives the most ooh and ah moments. A very satisfying feeling seeing light bulbs go off when people realize that conjugation is not as difficult as we thought. So if you failed Spanish before, if you've been intimidated by Spanish in the past, or if you've been warned about how hard Spanish or another language might be, it typically boils down to conjugation. And it is my goal here to show you that conjugation is actually something very, very easy. And conjugation is something that we do in English, but we just don't usually do a very good job at it. Oftentimes, Spanish teachers and language teachers will say that English doesn't conjugate, and that's not very true. But this will be a good example out of the many examples that I point out how English is not as complex of a language. I often say it's a fifth of a language, and you're going to see a very good example of how English can be confusing to speakers who are native in other languages. So the first thing I want to do and just talk about what it means to conjugate for a second, and then I have a little worksheet I've made for you guys that will help us improve on what conjugation is. So I want us to just focus mainly on the English version here, and I want us to see that we're working with this verb to be, like to be or not to be. Whenever we're talking about conjugation, what we have at the very top is what we call the infinitive or el infinitivo. The infinitive I want us to think of as a verb that has not been conjugated. I know we don't know what conjugated means just yet, but we will. But a infinitive verb is the purest, the most natural form of the verb. So we usually think about this as maybe like a fresh pack of clay, a fresh pack of Play-Doh, and we're going to have to change this infinitive to match the subject of the sentence. So we're going to take a second to do this in English. And I want to go to the worksheet because it's not as clear when I have it all already typed out. I typically do this by hand on the board and let us discover as we talk. So I'm going to go here, and I have these two things here for you. So we're starting out in English, and we have the word to be, and we are going to show what conjugation is and how we do it in English. Sadly enough, there aren't very many words that conjugate the way to be does in English. It's one of the only verbs that conjugates similar to how we will in other languages, and it's one of the only examples of conjugation that is even worth showing. But luckily we have it, and it's going to help us understand a lot better how we conjugate in English. All right, let me not waste any more time. Let us get started. So right now, to be is in its infinitive form. It is Play-Doh, and we're going to mold it to match each subject that's possible. So when we talk about the first person means that I am talking about myself. This is why we call it first person, and it's also the very first conjugation. So first person is no longer going to just mean, hey, I'm talking about myself. I want you to think of first person as the first way that you can conjugate a verb, the first way you can change the infinitive. So the subject or the pronoun that we use in the first person would be I. In Spanish, this word is yo. So when we conjugate the verb to be, what we're going to do is we're going to take the word to be and we're going to change it so that it matches the word I. If you are an English reader, this should be very easy for you. So I couldn't say I to be smart or I to be fun. I need to find which form of this verb actually matches I, and that word is am. So our first conjugation that we have in English is if we change the word to be and we conjugate it for I, we conjugate it for the first conjugation for the first person, and now I have I am. And this is what conjugation is. Changing a verb so that it matches the subject of the sentence. So who is the second person? It's not I, but you. You has to be another person in the conversation. It's when the first person is speaking directly to the person who the subject of the sentence is. So when we are talking in the second person, our pronoun is you, and the way to be conjugates to match you is are. I can't say you am. I can't say I are. This is how conjugation works. So when we get to the third person, this encompasses anyone who's not me or I taking the action or you. So if I and you are talking about another person, that is the third person. So here we have a few pronouns we could use. This pronoun could be he. This pronoun could be she. And oftentimes English speakers say it. I think it's a good idea to use the. And that way, if I'm talking about the table, the chair, the boy, the girl, it's still someone who's not me or you. How does to be change? How does it conjugate to match one of these third people? What we say is. So this is where how I teach Spanish differs greatly from a lot of my colleagues and other ways that I've seen Spanish taught in the past. And a lot of people only use first, second, and third person. I like to call the following ones fourth, fifth, and sixth person, although they are just the plural forms of first, second, and third. A lot of the times you will see teachers have first, second, third, and then verb, verb, verb. And right next to these, we have third, fourth, fifth, and verb, verb, verb. This could be confusing in a lot of ways, but there are some tips and tricks that a lot of teachers use that are effective in explaining this. So I won't talk against this method of teaching, but I want you to see the difference in between how I would explain it and the way it's typically explained. So when we go to the fourth person, we're no longer just talking about I'm talking about me and someone else. So this pronoun is we. And if it's I and someone else taking action, confusingly enough, what we say is are. So to be, when it matches we, is are. Imagine how confusing this is that you is also are. You guys, all four of these words are actually the same word. They have a very similar definition. They are different forms of the word to be, but they change based on who's doing it. The next one we have is a controversial one. Not controversial, but it changes. It's the word y'all. I'm from North Carolina. I say y'all all the time. If you say words like you all or use guys or you guys, all of those fit here well. But this, again, is the plural of you. So I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking to you and you, or you and you and you, or you and them. So we have a group of second people. This is the plural second person. And again, for some reason, we say are. When we get to our last one, we have they. Obviously, this is not me. It's not me and someone else. It's not you. It's not you and someone else. This is our third person again, or what I like to call the sixth person, where it is the third person and another person. So what we have here is also are. So this is a really good example of how English really is different from other languages. We really need to say and be specific about our subject and about the pronoun that we're using, or we would confuse you, are, possibly with we are, y'all are, and they are. And this is a level of confusion that you typically do not run into in other languages. So let's take a look at how much better, easier, and beautiful this is in Spanish. When I am talking about the verb ser, this verb ser means to be. I want to change this verb ser because I can't, just like I can't say I to be, I won't be able to say yo ser. I need to change ser so that it matches yo. The way that we do that is the word soy. So the phrase I am translates to yo soy in Spanish. Here, the word for you is tú, and there is an accent on this you. I should put that in now. So tú will match with the form of ser that says eres. So the way that we say you are is tú eres. If you're in my class, I won't quite grade for this accent until we get another word that looks like this in chapter 2. That means your. So here, when we're talking about he, that word in Spanish would be el. There's an accent on top of this E. I'll fix it. For she, that's ella. And from my previous videos, you will already see that just like I have he and she, I have two different ways to say the. So like if I'm talking about el niño or la niña, they would both fit here with people who aren't I and that aren't you. And so here, can anyone guess what was our verb here? This word was es. Looks a lot like is. And it's the word we've used when we've told time and talked about the weather and many other things. Our fourth person, we, is nosotros, and this word translates to somos. Notice that we're not recycling these two words here. For we choose our own verb. For you, we choose our own verb. And this is one of the main reasons I think it's a great idea to split this into 6 and not into 3. Here, this word y'all, I will make a video specifically about this. It's going to be after the next question video, and it's going to be called usted, the pronoun usted. But here, our word for y'all is vosotros. Vosotros is a phrase that we use mostly in Spain and that you see in truly Spanish writing. Unfortunately, you guys, I actually never had a teacher teach me how to speak in the vosotros form. But it's something that I was able to learn innately because I had such strong Spanish skills when I went to Spain. I just learned it from being there. And it worked out really, really well. So in my class, vosotros is always going to be extra credit. And I'm always going to add it into the chart. But I'm going to allow you guys to cross it out. And not have to particularly study this one. And what we say here is sois. Sois. There's an accent on this O as well. And then our plural of this box here, where we have he, el, the plural of this is ellos. The plural of this is ellas. And we've learned that the plural of el is los, and the plural of that is las. These are multiple things that aren't I or you. So instead of he, she, or the table, or the shoe, in this last one we have they, a group of boys, or multiple boys and girls, ellas, a group of females, and then los for males and las for females. This word is son. So I always end this lesson asking a very simple question to really point out the difference between what's happening in Spanish and in English. When you look at this, is it okay, looking at how we conjugate in English, to say something like are smart? Would are smart be a full sentence? No, it's not. We're missing a pronoun, or we're missing a noun that we can make the subject of the sentence. And this is incomplete because we know this could mean they are smart, y'all are smart, we are smart, or you are smart. Now, let's contrast this to Spanish. If I were to say, eres inteligente, would this be a full sentence in Spanish? Yes, it absolutely would. This clearly and specifically says you are smart. There's no way to confuse it because eres is only used when I'm talking about tú. So, looking at this, what is the most important part of the sentence in English? It's important that we choose a subject that has to be a noun or a pronoun. What's our most important part in Spanish? It's going to be our verb. You can see that our verb already has enough information to show who the subject is. Please notice that since we could have he or she or thee, and they or they and thee, that we must be specific about the subject in third and sixth person. So, thank you guys for tuning in for another Spanish lesson. I really hope that you feel like you're learning some Spanish and getting some tips and tricks that will help you perform better and be the top performing Spanish student in your class or my class. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I hope you have a great day, and please reach out to me with any questions. Adios.